What it do, YouTube? It's your boy Dev, man. I'm back with a reaction video. I'm going back to back like Drizzy was going on Meek Mill, man. We back with another video. If y'all like that fucking, what is that shit called? Fucking, what's that wildlife shit? We going raw, no edits, no scripts. The motherfucking geographic shit, the little animal shit, that motherfucking channel Animal Planet shit. That's what we're reacting to today. This shit is if these moments was not filmed, no one would believe it. Part 2. I never seen part 1, so we're going on part 2. So let's get into this video. I need y'all to do 3 things. Like, comment, and subscribe, man. Join the family because we only going up from here, man. We putting in that work, guarantee. This is the back-to-back videos. So, let's start this video. Oh, did I forget the intro? You know what? I ain't gonna do the intro today, man. I'm gonna do something like, I'm gonna come up with a new intro. I'm gonna come up with a gang. I'm gonna come up with a family now. We gonna do all this shit together, man. Cause you know what? Without you, it wouldn't be no me. We all just gonna go up from here. So let's get this video started.
You simply couldn't accept that it was true? Luckily, nowadays, virtually everyone has a camera with them at all times.
Oh, there's one! I'm on my shoulder!
And it's easier than ever to quickly capture video evidence of the most unlikely of things.
He said, hi.
Hi.
So sit back and prepare to be amazed, because if these moments were not filmed, no one would believe it. Number 15. Horse attacks alligator. Alligators are some of the fiercest creatures on the planet. With rows of sharp teeth and one of the strongest bites, most animals, including humans, know that it's best to stay as far away from them as possible. Sometimes this is easier said than done, however, and this video shows that not everything is as afraid of the reptiles as you would expect. Recorded in a state park in Florida, a group of friends saw a group of horses grazing perilously close to an alligator. Suddenly, one of them charges towards the deadly beast and stamps over it several times. All the alligator can do is hiss back in annoyance, and at one point manages to grab the horse's leg in its mouth. It's unable to cause any damage though, and is forced to retreat in case the horses decide to attack again. It's hard to believe that it was overpowered in this way, and even though it was clearly a juvenile, it just goes to show that even when the odds seem to be stacked against you, there's always a way to prevail. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell right now, or Slenderman will come from under your bed when you're sleeping. Number 14. Cheetah is a family friend. Millions of people around the world like to keep cats as pets, and there's plenty of choice with 71 different recognized domesticated breeds to pick from. Some people, however, want to have something a little more unusual and potentially more dangerous around their homes. And while you may argue that's a risk that it's their right to take, what about if they allowed their wildcats to play with their children? This video shows a family where that's precisely what happens, because the 2 toddlers have become best friends with 2 young cheetahs called Waku and Skyla. They've never known any different, because the cheetahs have always been around, and since the cats have grown up in a home environment, they're relatively tame compared to those in the wild. Still, these are dominant predators in their natural environments, and even when they think they're playing, they can pose a serious threat. The danger might not be so apparent while they're still just cubs, but when they begin to grow into adulthood, surely this living arrangement will have to change. Number 12. An elephant paints a self-portrait with his trunk. Elephants are some of the most intelligent creatures in the animal kingdom, and you're probably aware of how much control they have of their trunks that contain more than 40,000 muscles. So it only makes sense that some have managed to learn how to use their abilities for artistic pursuits, like this one at a sanctuary in Asia. He has been trained by staff to replicate brushstrokes and painting techniques. and is actually able to paint a self-portrait while guests to the facility are watching. There are no camera tricks going on here. What you see is happening for real, even to the bemusement of people who are there in person. There are several elephants that are able to produce a range of different paintings, and this has become an important revenue stream for the sanctuary. They sell the images to tourists for $500 each, and all the money goes towards helping take care of the artists. It's particularly impressive because the quality of work is far better than many humans can achieve. Do you think you're a better artist than an elephant? Number 11. Monkey play piano. Concert pianists take many years and even decades to perfect their art. But for everyone who plays, it's a learning process, and sometimes the best way to find your way around the keys is to have fun and make some noise. Our closest relatives in the animal kingdom are equally as inquisitive as we are, and when given the chance to experiment with new and unusual things, they'll fully commit. This clip shows what happened when a pet chimp was placed in front of the piano, and it didn't take long before he performed a sublime piece. Okay, well, it isn't exactly a classic, but he definitely shows a sense of rhythm and enjoyment and the sounds that he's making.
Monkeys, gorillas, apes, all this shit. I wouldn't doubt the monkeys not drive cars and shit.
A few more hours of this, and perhaps some structured lessons in the future, and who knows, this chimp could be performing on some of the grandest stages in the world in no time at all. Would you ever go to watch a performance by a chimp, or any other animal for that matter? Surely it's got to be more interesting than some concerts, and might even attract a whole new audience to the genre. Number 10. Talented cat puts on Oscar-worthy performance. It's easy to watch a movie and think that you don't need too much skill to be an actor, but the best of the best take many years of training to be able to convey their emotions effectively on screen. It's difficult enough for humans, but even more tricky for animals. And even though the movie Cats will go down in history as being one of the worst ever, don't think this reflects on the species as a whole. This is Barsik the cat, and he has perfected his acting skills to a much higher level than most Hollywood actors. When his owner makes a gunshot towards him, he reacts in as convincing way as you could ever expect to see, and fortunately doesn't squirm around on the floor for ages while still trying to hold the limelight. If there was ever an Academy Award for the best non-human scene, then Barsik definitely deserves it. In fact, he's probably outdone the vast majority of A-list actors' performances in the past few years, so why not give him the Best Actor award instead? Number 9. Ravens can talk. While animals don't have vocal cords that have developed to the same level as ours have, they still have plenty of ways to communicate in the wild. There are some species that can imitate our voices too, like parrots. But did you know that ravens can also do this?
Mischief, can you say hello?
Hello.
Good bird.
When they're kept in captivity, these wily birds can learn how to imitate a range of noises. It's not just the words that we speak, but also the sounds of engines, alarms, the calls of other animals, and even toilets flushing. This may seem like a completely useless skill. After all, have you ever known a person who can do this to ever make much of their life?
Hi. Hello. Hi.
But there's a specific reason why ravens have developed this ability. In the wild, they use intimidation to help them with tasks that they can't do on their own. Say, for example, they found a carcass in the forest, but are unable to open it up to feed on the flesh inside. Well, instead of giving up, they will sound the call of a wolf or a fox to hopefully attract one from nearby. Upon finding the food, the larger animal will start to tear it apart, and once they've had all that they need, the raven can fly in and pick at the leftovers. Number 8. Bear saves crow from drowning. If you've ever watched a bear, you'll know how one-track minded they always seem to be. For them, it's all about finding food, and when they have it, there's not much that would be able to prize them away.
Don't try and run for it. You'll never outrun it.
That's what makes this next video all the more surprising, because the bear in it is happily tucked into his meal. Filmed at the Budapest Zoo, a crow that has flown into his enclosure has found itself in quite the predicament and has begun to drown in the pool of water. Instead of carrying on regardless, the bear called Valley puts down his food and goes to investigate how he can help the crow. When the crow finally makes it to the corner, Valley is able to put his paw down, catch it against the wall, and pick it up in his mouth to bring it back to safety. The poor crow probably thought its time was up, either due to drowning or because it was about to become bear food. But luckily for it, Valley was far more interested in finishing his apple. Number 7. Moving very big house by a car. Moving house can be one of the most costly and stressful things that we ever do. It takes ages to pack up all of your belongings, carry them to your new place, and put everything in the right room. But imagine how much more complicated things were if your house move actually involved moving your entire house. It's far more complicated than you might think, whether because people can't bear the idea of leaving their family home but want different surroundings, or for those who aren't able to leave the structure on a plot of land. It's a very complicated process though, as this clip from George Washington Lane shows. First, struts have to be put underneath the house, and then it's lifted from its foundations onto a flatbed truck. It's then very carefully driven at slow speed along a street, and requires teams to go ahead to ensure no other large vehicles try to pass in the other direction. It's such a bizarre sight that people often line the streets to see it for themselves, but it would surely suck if you were the
Who is USAA made for? It's made for him, a veteran who honorably served. And it's made for her. She's serving now.
were the driver who was caught behind this as it was happening. Number 6. Cop prevents man from jumping off bridge. One of the appeals of the job for cops is that they never quite know what they'll be required to do next. And while there's often a lot of controversy about the laws they enforce, the way that they go about doing it, there's no doubt that there are times when they perform incredible work to the benefit of communities and those that live in them. A sheriff from near Brewery Road Lake in Virginia had been called to an overpass after witnesses saw a man behaving strangely. When he arrived, it soon transpired that this man had been going through a rough patch and was considering whether it was time to just end his life. The sheriff wasn't about to let this happen though, and distracted the man before grabbing hold of him and pulling him back from the edge. While doing this, the cop can be heard reassuring the man, telling him that he still has a lot left to do in this world.
Look at me. You got a lot left. You got a lot in you.
And following an examination by medics, soon after he was able to return home safely, all thanks to the quick thinking of the officer. Number 5. Forest floor caught breathtaking. This video shows one of the most bizarre phenomena anywhere in the world. And if we were to tell you about it without any footage, there's no way you'd ever believe it was real. Filmed in a forest in Quebec, you can actually see the forest floor rising and lowering.
Hey, that might be a giant ass turtle.
Almost as if it were breathing. Take a moment to watch it. What do you think is really happening here? Unfortunately, this isn't proof that the forest is one large living organism, but is actually happening because of the weather conditions. The soil here is very loosely packed, and because the wind is blowing so hard against the trees, they're slightly swaying back and forth. Just a small movement of the trunk on the surface can result in large shifts in their massive root structures. And when there are enough moving in tandem, the floor itself begins to move. You won't see this everywhere there's a forest, because usually the ground is so densely packed that the roots can't move, and the trees stand firmly in position. If you're ever lucky enough to see it in real life, it's one of the strangest things you'll ever witness. Number 4. Parrots playing basketball? Between the Eastern and Western Conference, the NBA brings the best 30 teams in the US together in a tournament, showing off the skills of the greatest players in the world. Or at least that's what they'd like you to think. Even the most die-hard fans will agree that there's a lot that basketball could do to improve the product. But the first step surely should be to relook at the laws that govern the sport. It's a little-known rule that only humans are allowed to play professional basketball. And if this next video is anything to go
and I generated over $400,000 in revenue last year with no website. I was
go by, that's an incredible shame. Parrots seem to have a natural ability at the game. Yes, they play on smaller courts, but if anything, that leads to a faster-paced and more enthralling competition. There is, however, controversy of how the players are rewarded for their talents. While the coaches and the owners profit from their playing punters, they still just pay their biggest stars peanuts. Number 3. Beluga whale filmed playing fetch with Rugby World Cup ball. Rugby is one of the most popular sports in the world, and the fans are some of the most passionate you'll find anywhere. In 2019, the South African team won a hard-fought contest to become world champions, and it seems that even the animal kingdom joined in with their celebrations. On a trip to the Arctic Circle, a group of South African supporters were on a boat when a beluga whale swam up towards them. They did what anyone would do who just so happened to have a rugby ball with them. They threw it into the water. While they probably hoped the whale was going to play with it, they couldn't have expected what was about to happen next.
It's crazy, yeah.
The excitable whale swims ahead to pick the ball up in its mouth, dives underwater with it, and then brings it back to the people on the boat so they can throw it again. Can you believe that one of these majestic creatures so easily got into a game of fetch with them? And do you think there are any other animals that would have done the same thing? Number 2. Amazing elephant basketball dunks. It can be tough, especially if you're isolated, to practice sports without other players to test your skills against. But Renee Castley, a star of Ninja Warrior and a professional acrobat, found a way to challenge himself with the assistance of an elephant. This isn't as bizarre as it first seems, because he has apparently been around the creatures all of his life after growing up with them. But still, the things he's able to train them to do on the basketball court are incredible.
Lead is 5. Tip an alley-oop to Jordan.
He performs a number of dunks with their assistants, which would surely put every other attempt at an NBA dunk contest to shame. Castley himself admits, however, that they can't exactly perform these stunt shots perfectly under pressure, and that for each one, there were plenty of wipeouts before they were completed successfully. With the way they work together, though, it seems as if elephants are the perfect dunk companions. But if you were going to set up a trick shot with the aid of an animal, which species would you choose? Number 1. Flying fish.
None.
With specialized gills to extract oxygen from liquid, the one thing you can assume about a fish is that it lives underwater, right? Well, it might surprise you to know that this isn't always the case, as there are actually at least 40 different species of flying fish.
So it's a flying fish. I ain't never fished no damn flying fish. I've been fishing a couple times.
Fish, typically living in warmer waters and rarely growing any longer than 18 inches, they are often seen leaping from the waves at incredible speeds. To do this, they have enlarged fins that allow them to glide through the air. And some, such as the California flying fish, essentially have forewings that give them unbelievable hang time. There are a few reasons why they've developed this ability. The first is that it's a great evasive technique to escape predators that aren't so nimble. But it's also because they can catch flies from above the surface of the water that, for some species, are their main source of food. Sometimes this can lead to comical events when sailing boats are passing over a region where there's a large shoal of flying fish, because if the creatures get spooked, they'll all start jumping out of the water and start landing on the deck of the boat. They soon start to smell awful, so it's a race against time to get them back into the water before this happens. Which of these did you find to be the most unexpected? And
what I found was the most unexpected was the horse A-Town stumping the goddamn crocodile, bruh. I didn't peep that. I thought a crocodile was gonna whoop his ass. Y'all pick y'all most awkward moment in here, man. Mine would be just the horse and the alligator, like the cheetah and the kids. I thought that shit was weird. Everything else was just normal, though. But furthermore, if you enjoyed this video, like, comment down below what you want to react to, or just say what's up, start a conversation. 3, subscribe to the game, man, because we only going up from here. We only get bigger. We only get better. You know, every day we working, man. So I want y'all to work. I want y'all to be positive. I want y'all to be creative too, man. And I will do the same on this end. I'll catch y'all on this video. I'm out.